Hey, what is happening, Bulls and Bears? Back with another dose of you-know-what, economic reality. It's December 22nd, 2022. I'm wearing my Michigan shirt, my home state, for all my Michigan friends that are watching right now. And I noticed the chill map. Let's go to that first, and we've got some financial, economic news to get caught up on most definitely. But first, my friends up in Michigan and the northeastern part of the country, basically looks like an Arctic blast going on up there. So I decided to wear my Michigan shirt for you today. And one of the requests that I've gotten more than most other requests is to do more outdoor videos, especially days like today where San Diego, it's about almost 70 degrees today. No snow where I'm at. Most of California, no snow. We do have snow up in the mountains sometimes, like cities like Julian. And but yes, at this time, I do hope everyone has plenty of heating, electricity, heating oil, whatever it may be. I hope that you are doing okay, because it certainly looks cold, and I've shoveled my fair share of snow and digging cars out of snowbanks when the snowplow comes by. And if you park on the street, that's the worst, because the snowplow is going to come by, and sometimes they'll bury your car. And I also remember an ice scraper. Actually, I do have an ice scraper here. Sometimes in the morning we get a little bit of ice here just from the dew that settles on the vehicle overnight. So we will get some ice here. So San Diego, some of the best weather in the world, but we're not completely out of the woods as far as weather goes. And when you look at the big picture, we have to contend with fires and earthquakes. So even though 3 to 4 months out of the year is very cold in some of these northern states, including Michigan, many of you are likely better off, but it depends on your dislike for the cold, right? I've never been a cold person. I think I've kind of aged prematurely, because as we get older, it seems like we're less tolerant of the cold. And even back when I was 18, 20, 21, the cold just sent me into a whole different mindset, right? And the weather, just one of the reasons why I chose to come out here to California. But let's go ahead and get into the news. The dollar globally is being dumped. And one of the themes on this channel, not one of the themes, one of the main concerns we have is the hyperinflation and the sudden devaluation of the dollar. Now, the dollar has been the reserve currency for many years. We go all the way back to the Bretton Woods Agreement. The United States dollar became the world reserve currency and what's known as the petrodollar, with oil being traded in nothing but dollars. Now, since then, that has changed with what's happening with Russia and many other nations around the world now going outside of the dollar to trade not only oil, but other types of trade. But let's get into some recent news on this here today. And we even have this headline out of here, out of Bloomberg today. Suddenly, everyone is hunting for alternatives to the U.S. dollar. Now, the dollar has basically been weaponized. It's been used as basically a control mechanism against other nations around the world to do what the United States wants to do, or at least do what the government wants to do. But let me just read you an excerpt out of this article here, and I think it's pretty telling. Tired of a too strong and newly weaponized greenback, some of the world's biggest economies are exploring ways to circumvent the U.S. currency. Smaller nations, including at least a dozen in Asia, are also experimenting with de-dollarization, and corporates around the world are selling an unprecedented portion of their debt in local currencies as they become wary of dollar strength going forward. And folks, we've been talking for years here about the de-dollarization happening around the world. Well, that's accelerated now over the last couple of years with the sanctions that the United States has implemented towards other countries. Now, this could play out over a very long period, but I noticed something pretty interesting when I was researching this on other countries that saw their currency rapidly devalue. It started off very slowly, and when you look at the currency, the devaluation and the inflation at the same time, first it was gradual, but then all of a sudden it would spike up. And I've got a map here of several different countries where inflation is the worst, and I noticed that trend in several of these countries that we're going to look at here on this map. So it's gradual now. And this could be the case with the U.S. dollar, but at a point it reaches a tipping point where all of a sudden it explodes, and then you see hyperinflation. The thing about the dollar is the world reserve currency, the other nations that have fallen into hyperinflation were not the reserve currency. So it may not be as sudden and drastic here as we have seen it play out in these other countries. In fact, I don't think it's going to be as sudden or drastic. But we have other things on top of just the de-dollarization that's happening around the world. We have the supply chain issues, and a lot of the supply chain issues were from the health crisis and people being paid not to work. And it's just now, over the past year and a half, rearing its ugly head in the form of higher prices, higher cost of living. All right, but let's take a look at some of these other countries where this has happened. And actually, you're lucky to live in the United States because things could be and are much, much worse in some other countries, as we'll see on this map right here. All right, and as this points out here, we're seeing double-digit inflation in almost half of the world right now. All right, let's scroll down here, and the nations in the dark red, the maroon, the dark red, are the worst. We look at down here, Argentina, 88%, Venezuela, 156%, Zimbabwe, let me make my box smaller here, Zimbabwe, 269%, Sudan, 180%, Iran, 52%, Turkey, 88%. And take a look at China, only 2.1%. You see, when you manufacture a lot of stuff, you're much less likely to see really bad inflation like some of these other countries. Now, some of you may be saying, JJ, you said that we don't manufacture much here in the United States. Well, that's true. But again, the world reserve currency, we can export printed U.S. currency or printed dollars for actual real services and goods. In fact, if it weren't for the world reserve currency, I think our cost of living would be much higher than what it is now. I think it would actually be worse than some of these other countries that we just pointed out on the map. The United States is the world's top importer of goods in the world. So we also have to factor that into how prepared we want to be for the destruction of the U.S. dollar and for more inflation to come hit us here in the United States. And in my opinion, the best way to hedge against that is still precious metals, namely silver. Why silver and not gold? I get that question a lot because silver is more undervalued right now than gold. If we look at the gold to silver price ratio, we see that it's at near historic detachment from the price of gold. And we're still only about half of what the all-time high in silver was back in the 80s. Silver hit $50+, and now we're still under $25. But if you look at bullion, it's hard to get it for under $25, even though the paper price is less than $25. It's really hard to get the physical for less than $25. Right, so we also have to include that. There's also this manipulation of silver where traders and big money funds, whales, they can go in and push the price down on the paper market using derivatives and using paper contracts. And I've said this before, one of the biggest ways you can fight against that as a person here, as a citizen, fighting against the manipulation of silver and just fighting against the digital money system is accumulate hard silver. One thing that we're lucky for here in the United States is we still produce a lot of food. And that's actually on the decline, though, with a lot of farms not able to make ends meet. Unfortunately, with the cost of living here in California, farms going under just because of the cost of water, the water bills. And that's pretty sad. A lot of the avocado farmers let their trees die just because of the cost of water. So things are not headed in the right direction. To fix this, we need to go back to one, sound money. And I think ultimately it's going to be silver. We're going to go through a lot of pain, though, before we get there. If you guys like to pick up some silver, link down below. ST Bullion is where I get it. And you help out this channel a little bit by using that link below. I pick up a few ounces each month. And when the price went down a lot, I picked up a little bit more. When it shot up to almost $30, I started lowering the amount that I bought each month just to a few ounces. So that's what I'm doing to prepare. Stacking food, stacking water. That's my plan here going forward. So let's get on to some other news here. All right, let's move on a little bit here, folks. FTX founder Sam Bankman-Fried to be released on $250 million in bail, and he gets to live with his parents. So he's out on bail. We'll see ultimately what happens with this. It's interesting, though, the slaps on the wrist that the too big to fail bank get. All those banks get when something happens. Might be the same thing here. And it's interesting with crypto. At one point, people felt safer in crypto than they did the financial institutions. Well, keep in mind, the financial institutions are too big to fail. So when you see all these videos, all these YouTubers out there sounding the alarm, saying take your money out of the bank, a lot of us have come to the conclusion that your money is safer in a too big to fail financial institution, because at the end of the day, they're ultimately going to get bailed out if too many loans go on default, and the bank will still be rescued. The question is, are they going to do bailouts or bail-ins? Bail-ins is where they take depositors' money. So no 100% safe place as far as your money goes. That's why I always recommend, I don't say recommend, I keep money out of the system as much as possible. With the cost of living, that's becoming much more difficult than it used to be historically. So I hope everyone's doing well. We're going to wrap this one up here. Thanks everybody for being here. What do you think about the inflation rates out of those other countries, the de-dollarization, and what are you doing to prepare? Please let me know down below. Are you stacking silver like me? Also, link down below if you'd like to go pick up some silver, help out this channel a little bit. What do you think about the crypto guy here that allegedly defrauded a bunch of people out of a lot of money and now living with his parents? Is that going to be his punishment at the end of all this? Guys, let me know. Hope everyone's having a very happy holiday. Thanks everybody for being here. We'll talk to you very soon. Bye now and peace.